cold, moonless night in the mountains of Japan, a lone traveler named Kenta found himself lost. The path ahead seemed endless, swallowed by the thick fog that rose like a ghostly veil. The forest was eerily silent, save for the occasional rustle of leaves. Kenta had heard the elders speak of the yokai, spirits and creatures that haunt the lands, but he had always dismissed them as tales meant to scare children. Tonight, however, he would learn the truth. Kenta's first encounter was with Nurikabe, the invisible wall yokai. As he trudged forward, he suddenly felt an unyielding barrier blocking his way. He reached out, his hands touching nothing but air, yet he could not move. Panic set in as he remembered the warnings. If you meet Nurikabe, step to the side. He shuffled sideways, his heart pounding, until the path finally opened. Behind him, the wall seemed to dissolve into the mist. Relieved, Kenta pressed on. But soon a chilling howl echoed through the trees. It was Okuri Inu, the sending-off dog. This yokai is known to stalk travelers, ensuring they don't falter. Kenta's legs burned with fatigue, but he dared not stop. The sound of paws crunching the snow followed him relentlessly. Finally, he reached a clearing and the howls ceased. Turning, he saw glowing eyes vanish into the darkness. In the clearing stood a massive tree. Exhausted, Kenta leaned against it only to feel something warm and sticky. To his horror, the tree was oozing blood. This was no ordinary tree, it was Juboko, a vampiric yokai born from the sites of great battles. The tree hungered for his blood. Kenta stumbled back, narrowly avoiding the gnarled branches that reached for him like skeletal hands. Night fell completely, and Kenta lit his lantern. The flickering flame cast eerie shadows, but he felt safer with its light. Suddenly, the flame turned blue, and a soft voice began to whisper. It was Aoandon, the blue lantern yokai, said to appear after the telling of 100 ghost stories. The whispers grew louder, recounting tales of sorrow and death. Unable to bear it, Kenta extinguished the lantern and ran. As he ran, Kenta stumbled into a village. Relief washed over him until he noticed the eerie silence. A woman with kind eyes invited him into her home, offering food and warmth, but as he ate, he glanced up to see her neck stretching unnaturally long. She was Rokurokubi, a yokai whose true form reveals itself at night. Kenta bolted out the door as her laughter echoed behind him. In his panic, he ran straight into another figure, a beautiful woman who offered to guide him. Suspicious, Kenta noticed her shadow had multiple tails. She was Kitsuna, the fox spirit known for its cunning tricks. She led him to a river and vanished, leaving him to face the swift current alone. At the riverbank, Kenta felt a tug on his leg. Looking down, he saw a scaly green hand. It was Kappa, the water demon. Remembering the tales, he bowed deeply, spilling the water from the bowl atop the creature's head. Deprived of its strength, the Kappa retreated, hissing angrily. Crossing the river, Kenta noticed small floating orbs of fire in the air. They danced around him, mesmerizing and sinister. These were Hitodama, the spirits of the dead. They circled closer, their heat growing unbearable. Kenta clutched his amulet tightly, whispering prayers until the flames faded into the night. From the shadows emerged Yuki Onna, the snow woman. Her pale beauty was entrancing, but her eyes were cold and merciless. She approached silently, her breath forming icy crystals in the air. Kenta's vision blurred as the cold sapped his strength. Remembering an old tale, he begged for mercy. With a chilling smile, she disappeared, leaving him frostbitten but alive. Falling to his knees, Kenta looked up to see a giant skeleton looming over him. It was Gashadokuro, the spirit of starved and angry souls. The creature's hollow eyes glowed, and its bony fingers reached for him. Kenta threw a handful of rice into the air, an offering the yokai could not resist. As the skeleton scattered to devour the grains, Kenta fled. His flight was halted by a small figure blocking his path. It was Hitotsume Kozo, a one-eyed yokai resembling a child. Though not malicious, its gaze was unnerving. Kenta bowed respectfully, and the creature stepped aside, disappearing into the trees. Further down the path, Kenta met a woman with her back turned. She warned him not to come closer, but he approached anyway. When she turned, her face was ordinary, but a second mouth on the back of her head screamed in rage. She was Futakuchi Onna, cursed to feed the insatiable hunger of her second mouth. Kenta fled as the woman's shrieks echoed. In the water below, a creature surfaced. It was a Mabi, a mermaid-like yokai said to predict plagues. It spoke cryptic warnings of illness and disaster before vanishing beneath the waves, leaving Kenta shaken. As he left the coast, he heard a scraping sound behind him. Turning, he saw Teke Teke, a ghostly torso dragging itself forward. It moved with terrifying speed, closing the gap between them. Kenta sprinted until he could no longer hear the sound of its claws on the ground. Kenta collapsed at the base of a tree, only to hear the rustling of wings above. Looking up, he saw Teng, the bird-like yokai of the mountains. The creature pointed its sharp beak at him and spoke in a voice like thunder. "Leave this place, or be consumed by shadows." Terrified, Kenta obeyed. As dawn broke, Kenta reached a village. The people listened to his tale with solemn faces. An elder spoke. "You were fortunate. Most who encounter so many yokai do not survive." But Kenta's relief was short-lived. That night, he awoke to find Nue, the chimera-like yokai, perched at his window, its glowing eyes a reminder that his journey was far from over.